Hello students and welcome back to Jules Math Tools. Today this is part 3 of our session on calculating the angles on a straight line when we're using decimal numbers. But the only difference in this question is we're going to have a whole number also involved with our decimal numbers. And if you want to see how to calculate your angles on a straight line when we have these mixed numbers, make sure that you stay tuned. So in our session today, we're going to be calculating the measure of our unknown angle when we have both decimal and whole numbers involved. And we're going to begin by first writing out our equation. So that means that my angle G plus 20.1 degrees plus my 35 degrees plus my 49.63 degrees should all sum to 180 degrees. And we're going to begin first by summing up the numbers that were given to us. So that means I'm going to be adding my 20.1, and remember that we're adding with decimal and whole numbers. So we must remember that we're always lining up the decimal point first. So what I'm going to do is writing my decimal numbers first. So I'm going to write in my 20.1. Next, I'm going to be writing in my 49.63, and the last number I'm going to include is my whole number 35. Now remember that with 35, as I told you in the previous videos, that with our whole numbers like 35, the decimal point is always behind that last digit. So my decimal point in 35 is behind my 5. So I'm going to put in my decimal point and write in my number 35. So now that we are adding, remember that in all of those blank space, we're going to just fill them in with zeros to help us with our addition. Now that our numbers are set up, let's begin calculating. 0 plus 3 is 3, and 3 plus 0 will be 3. 1 plus 6 is 7, and 7 plus 0 will give us 7. 0 plus 9 is 9, and 9 plus 5 is 14. We're going to put our 4 and carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 4 is 7, and 7 plus 3 is 10. And remember that with our decimal point, that comes right down the center. So the decimal point does not move, which is why it's important that your numbers are correctly lined up. So that means that our angle G plus our 104.73 degrees will equal to 180 degrees. And now that we have only one number, and now that we only have one digit to subtract from our 180 degrees, let's set up our subtraction. So remember that your 180 degrees, the decimal point is behind our 0. And we're now going to write in our 104 degrees, lining up our decimal points and not our decimal numbers. And we're going to fill in all of these blank spaces with 0. So 0 can subtract 3 since 3 is larger than 0, which means we're going to be borrowing from our 8. My 8 will become 7. My first 0 is going to become 10. We're going to borrow from that 10, making it 9. My second 0 will become 10. I'm going to borrow from that 10, making that 9, and changing my last 0 into 10. So 10 subtract 3 will equal to 7. 9 subtract 7 will equal to 2. 9 subtract 5 is 9 subtract 4 is equal to 5. 7 subtract 0 is equal to 7. And 1 subtract 1 is 0. And just like our addition, our decimal point will come right down from where it is. So my angle G is equal to 75 and 27/100. Okay, so I'm going to take it an extra step, and we're going to substitute my 75 and 27/100 plus our 20.1 plus our 35, and I'm putting in my decimal point behind my 35, plus my 49 and 63 hundredths, and we're going to add up all of these numbers to see if they sum to 180 degrees. But before I begin adding, I'm going to fill in all of these blank spaces with zeros, so that this will help me a little better with following my addition. So 7 plus 3 is 0. 7 plus 3 is 10. We're going to put our 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 2 is 3. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 0 is 4. And 4 plus 6 is 10. Put our 0, carry the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 0 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 plus 9 is 20. We're going to put our 0, carry the 2. 2 plus 7 is 9. 9 plus 2 is 11. 11 plus 3 is 14. And 14 plus 4 is 18. So we see that when we check our answers, these numbers all sum to 180 degrees, which tells me that my angle G is correct. Let's try another example. Feel free at this point to pause the video, calculate the measure of your angle D, and then when you're ready, you can unpause the video and see if I got the same answer that you did. Okay, so let's begin. We're going to start by first writing out our equation. So my angle D, plus 55.7 degrees plus 38.6 degrees plus 40 degrees should all equal to 180 degrees. Now let's start by summing our numbers together. So my 55.7, right in my decimal point for my 38.6. And remember that the decimal point in my 40 degrees is behind that 0. So I'm going to write in my decimal point, my 0 and 40. And remember that we're going to fill in all of these blank spaces with a 0. So 7 plus 6 is 13. 13 plus 0 is 13. We write our 3, carry the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 8 is 14, and 14 plus 0 is 14. So let's write our 4, carry the 1. 1 plus 5 is 6. 6 plus 3 is 9. 9 plus 4 is 13. And remember that your decimal point drops right down from where it is. So my angle D plus 134.3 degrees is equal to 180 degrees. So now let's perform our subtraction. So we're going to write in our 180 degrees, remembering that our decimal point goes behind our 0, which is the last digit in our number. But now we're going to write in our 134, and the 3 goes behind the decimal point. And we're now going to fill in the 0 above that 3 to help us with our subtraction. So 0 can subtract 3. We're going to borrow from our 8, making it 7. Our first 0 will become 10. We'll borrow from that 10, making it 9. My second 0 will become 10. And 10 subtract 3 is 7. 9 subtract 4 is 5. 7 subtract 3 is 4. And 1 subtract 1 is 0. And we're going to bring our decimal point right down from where it is. Remember, it does not move. So my angle D is equal to 45.7 degrees. And let's check our answer by summing all of these numbers up together to make sure that they do add up to 180 degrees. Remembering to line up our decimal points and not our numbers. And remember that your decimal point in your 40 goes behind the 0. So let's fill in the 0 to make sure that all of our numbers are completely lined up. And let's begin adding. 7 plus 7 is 14. 14 plus 6 is 20. We're going to put our 0, carry the 2. 2 plus 5 is 7. 7 plus 5 is 12. 12 plus 8 is 20. Put our 0, carry the 2. 2 plus 4 is 6. 6 plus 5 is 11. 11 plus 3 is 14, and 14 plus 4 is 18. And we're going to bring our decimal point right down the middle. And we can see that these numbers all sum to 180 degrees. Okay, so there you have it. We just calculate the measure of an unknown angle when we're working with both decimal and whole numbers. But remember that you can always remember this information by simply practicing. And until next time, this is Jules Math Tools, where math is made easy.